Good evening and welcome to Littleport Christian Spiritualists, where already my phone has decided that it wants to do an upgrade instead of broadcast the service. Let's forget about that for now, shall we? And hope that, yes, we're still going. I hope you didn't miss too much. It only does it once every 3 hours, so we'll be fine now. So good evening and welcome to Littleport Christian Spiritualists this fine Thursday evening, this first Thursday of 2024, of gathering together, united under a banner of love, of friendship and support, where we come together to witness that proof and that truth that life is indeed eternal. And you might notice that once again, I'm on me Todd. There's only one chair rather than two. Normally, it's been a tradition this last, can you believe it, 12 years, that I chair the last and first service. Hello! Chair the first and last service of the year, you know, being winter and being that time of year, not a lot of people want to come out. But looking at so many people on the first service of a January, we're going to do something a bit different next year, because I can confirm that the tradition in 2025 will be broken. And surprisingly enough, we've got more people coming. I'm just going to waffle for a minute because we've got more people arriving. Hang you're right. So I'll just waffle for a minute and explain that when we do this next year, I won't be on my own. In fact, I will doubly be not on my own, because the first service of 2025 will be not one, not two, but 3 mediums, in the form of I will be being joined by Reverend Barbara Price and Linda Rose. So that's something to look forward to. Yeah. So we're going to start new traditions, because I think that's what life should be about. Tradition's good, making your own is better. And so when you feel like you need to change them, you don't feel bound to not change them. So we will be starting a new tradition in 2025 with myself, Barbara and Linda. So that's a long way off. In actual fact, it's 52 weeks off. There's a lot more going on between now and then, including, of course, week in, week out. With the exception of any elections, I know there will be 2 this year. We have got the local elections in May. We will not be here because this is a polling station. It's not that I'm religiously, as a spiritualist, bound not to perform a service when there's a democratic election going on. It's just that we work on Thursdays and so do elections, and this is the polling booth. So in May, when the local elections are on, we will not be meeting. And of course, when the general election eventually comes round in the latter part of the year, we will not be meeting there again. But other than that, we'll be bringing different mediums every week, bringing upliftment, love, friendship, and unity. Of course, on the 3rd Sunday of every month, there will also be the White Feather Drum Healing, a shamanic drum healing group coming together to provide drum healing and working on various different aspects of mediumship and psychic ability every single month. If you want details about that, speak to Eunice, because she's the one who runs it. And of course, that is a tradition that has changed, but a tradition that is being kept going out of honour, respect, and friendship, because it was Reverend Alan, of course, who started, and by word are we going to finish. Otherwise, we'd be getting a backsides kicked by. And of course, on the 2nd Sundays of every month, we also have a monthly workshop, which includes various different aspects of mediumship and spirit communication and connection. So who knows what's coming up this week? It's not this Sunday, but the Sunday after, because the year started on Monday. Sorry. But I know that they'll let me know in time in case I need to bring him. You are. Why?
Workshop was
Second Sunday of the month. The month started on Monday.
that's a really good one.
Ah, yes. Well, you can still go. Drop units with grandmothers and they can have a cup of tea.
That's a good one.
There you go. I'll ask them. Now you can see why the extra seats in the middle. So yes, the second Sunday of the month is the workshops. Third Sunday of the month, drunk TV. But of course, mediumship. Next week we will be having the wonderful Daniel right back as our medium to serve next week. And also, because I'm getting my backside in gear and getting organised, I've already posted the first month's worth of mediums up on Tinterweb. If you're interested, just have a look at our Facebook page, which is Littleport Spiritualism, after the Facebook blog. But tonight, of course, this is a service of spiritual upliftment, healing, philosophy, and mediumship. And you've got to put up with me again so tough. So to start this evening, let's join together and open this service in prayer. As we say, Great Spirit, Father, Mother, God, we thank you for the opportunity to unite, to blend, and connect with the world of spirit for ourselves and each other. We ask that all of those in the world of spirit that watch over us, our friends, our loved ones, those who work with us in the world of spirit, draw close. Reach out and let us know that they are there, by any means and all means, by traditional, modern, and new. Let the world of spirit reach out and touch the hearts of all. And as we leave this service in your care and keeping, we make a statement as ever, that everything we do will be in love, truth, light, and only for good. Amen. Well, friends, I know we've got a reading this week, which is going to be interesting. And I also know that Tony will be leading the evening. And the lovely Barbara, of course, has agreed to close the evening in prayer for us as well, because I'll probably be stuffed by the end of it. But, of course, we always begin with a little bit of philosophy. And philosophy should not ever be by rote. Philosophy should never be something that is a lecture or a dictation of something previously written. It's supposed to come from the heart of the spirit and the heart of the person speaking. It's always going to be personal. There are some that believe that the medium should keep well out of it. But the one thing I know about people is that if they need to trust someone, they need to know that the person that's speaking understands, or at least has a view on what's going on. And so I believe mediums should put something of themselves into their philosophy, so long as it's not all of the philosophy. Because without a sympathetic symmetry of understanding and knowledge, everything's meaningless. And you can easily sit in the world in which we live right now and think that it pretty much is. But with sympathetic symmetry, with patience and kindness, we can make a difference to ourselves, to each other, to the world in which we live. It would be easy to think that spiritualists are okay with people passing. We know that they're going to be all right. We know that they're going to be up there watching over us. We know that they are beings of energy, able to see what we're doing and support us. But if you believe that to be a spiritualist is to be okay with physical passing, you've been on the wrong planet. Because we spiritualists embrace life. We spiritualists love life for all its pains and sufferings. It's a beautiful gift. And it hurts when that physical loss comes. But if it didn't hurt, it wouldn't have meant anything in the first place. So there is something to be said that the harder it hurts, the more they matter. And I believe that to be true. I also believe that for anyone to think that spiritualists are obsessed with death, they should see the parties they have. They should see the entertainment that they have with each other. They should come along to a workshop on a second Sunday and see my favourite, as they call themselves, the Three Witches, having a right old giggle at the Nick tank. You should see what the technical team do on the last service of the year with fishing wire and strobe lights to the medium who's serving. You should see the conversations that go on before the service, after the service, over a cup of tea. You should see the conversations that go on online, behind the scenes. The words of upliftment, support, care, and compassion for each other that I see every day on various different groups that I'm part of. And you can see a ripple of love, a ripple of support, a ripple of compassion spreading like wildfire throughout the buildings, throughout the churches, throughout the internet. Because I know everyone here, in spite of everything, loves life. Doesn't mean to say you always have to agree with it. But enjoying, feeling, and being matters to spiritualism. Of course, the other misconception about spiritualism, of course, is that we know everything. We don't. We know enough, just like everybody else. We don't know exactly the shape of the spirit world. We don't know the design of heaven. And we certainly have never seen the face of God. But we felt his hand pushing us forward. We felt his tears being shed in difficulty. And we've certainly felt the world of spirit doing all those things for us too. Because it's not about summoning spirits. It's not about chanting and dancing around naked around a campfire. That's the fourth Sunday of every year. I'm kidding, but not for everybody. Certainly not for me. It's not for me. But one of the most important things about this way of life is its people. It doesn't matter about mediumship. It doesn't matter about healing. It doesn't matter about philosophy. Because all three of those things happen when a group of people come together. The healing, certainly. The mediumship, quite frequently. And the philosophy is shared in the support that each person gives the next. I've said in the past that there's been themes in our years. Everyone, of course, will remember a year ago when Esther breathed a sigh of relief that I was finished saying just be kind. So relieved, in fact, she gave me a badge that said something similar, but with a slightly more risque feel. This year is simple. We all talk about wanting to change the world. We all talk about wanting to make a difference, and everyone wishes for peace and love. And that's true. They're great goals. But we're spiritualists and we believe in personal responsibility. We believe in making sure that we are part of the process of making it happen. And as spiritual beings, as spiritual people, whether you designate yourself as spiritualist or anything in between, we all know that we are part of the journey of making these things happen. So therefore, if peace and love are the destination, they're not the answer. I believe that the answer to peace and love is patience, understanding, kindness, acceptance. Knowledge is nothing without its subtle application, because without the application of knowledge, there is no wisdom. Wisdom finds that you cannot jump to the final chapter. You have to read the whole book. Peace and love are the final chapter. For the rest of the book, all 11 chapters of it, we've got to express patience, understanding and compassion to those we know, to those we do not know, and those who we might not necessarily agree with. Because frankly, patience is what's going to make the difference. And that is what will change the world. So be patient, be brave, be bold, and look after each other. And let's make it a special 2024 for each other. God bless you all, and thank you for listening. Now, in a moment, I'm going to hand over to Tony to lead the healing so I can prepare myself for the mediumship after we've had a reading with you. When it comes to, of course, spiritual connection, we can read other people's words to see if they balance out. And I haven't got a clue what's going to be said. So she's shaking her head like she don't either. But I'm going to hand over first to Eunice and then to Tony. Eunice is going to give us a reading, Tony's going to give us some healing, and we'll see where we go from there. So everyone, please welcome to the floor, Eunice!
But tonight I've got two readings actually. First one is, they're both very serious. First one is Native American prayer for 2024, a New Year prayer. I ask the Great Spirit to please heal the broken people, make well the sick, restore happiness in those in despair, bring love to the lonely, bring food to the hungry, and bring peace to the world. That's one. Now this one was written by Thomas Brown, who's too shy to come and read it herself. So I said I would read it for her. And I think it's fun. I walked along a leafy path with trees on either side. The sun shone through the leaves with my angel by my side. As I kept on walking, a light was shining bright. My angel took and held my hand as my family was inside. She looked at me and gave a smile. My child, I brought you home. My friends and family waiting, and I was not alone. I looked up at my angel as the light was oh so bright, and from that very moment, she vanished out of sight. And that was my prayer.
Well done.
Thank you.
There you go. Never put the snare out. It's always better. Well, friends, we're going to hand over to Tony in a second. He's going to lead us in healing. There are things that are never easy to do. There are things that are never easy to say. And there are things that you consider keeping your mouth shut. But when a group of people are in need, it's got to be said. I'm sure most of, not all of you who are regulars will know that we lost Pete to the spirit world. We have not lost him, and neither have you. And you have us. So when you send your healing out, You send it to that lady there, and you send it to him to make sure that he is flying high. Because we know that he's with Alan, among others. We know that George and Alan and Wendy, Dad, are all up there playing whist and probably taking the mick out of all of us right now. Now, I am sure that people that have had words about the Factory Boy, City Boy team, and I'm certain that they will all be uplifting each other. When I say about uplifting each other, I mean it. These are the times we need to do it for each other. So we are here, we always will be, and so will they. So send your healing where it needs to go tonight, please, in focus. And that's all I'm going to say. So please, give a welcome to Tony to lead us in healing.
Quite simple as ever. Those of you who would like some healing, please put your hand up. And don't be shy. God, we want to.
There you go.
That's it. Come on, the rest of it. Oh, there we go. 5, 6. Oh, thank you.
There we go. Go for it. Just somebody place the hands on your shoulders and give you healing. It's nothing.
That's to worry about whatsoever. So, healers. Yes, I can't say that. You know where to go. Keep your hands up if you want to. What's there? Yes, that way right in, Barry. It's the older there. That's fine. Yes. Okay. Just a few words as ever. When you enjoy this way of life, as we're all seeing to, there are things you can do. One of the things we can do is to heal people. So, the Great Spirit, if you are there, and I know you will be, and you're listening, please send your powers via our healers to those that need it now. Thank you. healers, if you can just bring yourselves back. As I say every week, thank you to those that ask, because we know it's the most difficult thing to do. Don't forget, I'm here before and after if you need some more.
Thank you to Tony, and thank you, of course, to all of our healers. And it really, really does matter when you ask. Healing is the first and most important facet of this way of life, because it's within everything we do. And of course, now is the time to have a demonstration of mediumship. And normally I would say, welcome, of course, to Flat come here. I've got someone with dodgy teeth already. Look. Normally I'd say, welcome to the platform, our medium. I think really I've got problems there. Our medium for tonight, but I ain't gonna because it's me. So we'll just go straight on. Normally I would say my little welcome to people who've never been before, my little safety demonstration. But after our Christmas service, I'm a little bit afraid. Should I come to you, please answer in a clear voice, yes, no, don't know. Don't be afraid to say no. I like no's. No's is good. This is something we've been discussing at length in Circle recently as well. And if the curtains start twitching and the lights start flashing and the chairs start spinning, follow me. I'll be the first one out, either through those doors, or through the stage, because we don't do that here, apart from at Christmas, involving strobe lights and fishing wire. They really did, and it's on Facebook and YouTube forever for people to see, and it's blooming hilarious, and I love it. Thank you. See, things like that prove that people are listening to what I'm saying at the very least. So, a demonstration of mediumship is simple. I will endeavour to prove survival by finding out who's with me and relaying that information to whoever it belongs to out here. I'm already aware, and I have to admit, I am struggling to speak properly still. It is an effort with every word. I know it's an effort with every word that I'm saying to try and keep it in check, because I know this gentleman would have had a stroke. Whenever I feel like I've got my stutter back, believe it or not, I used to be really shy, retiring, and had a stutter. You wouldn't believe it now, of course, but there you go. But whenever I feel like my stutter is coming back, I know that it's usually a symptom of someone who passed, who had had a stroke. I don't believe it was necessarily the stroke that took them. I believe they endeavoured to bring back their speech, and they did really, really well, but it was always an effort. And with this gentleman, I do feel a burning headache, and I can feel it down both sides of my head, which is unusual. Oh, thank you. This is the bit I love, when I feel taller and thinner. I feel probably about 2 or 3 inches taller than I look, and I certainly feel a lot less weighty than my, lifetime on the hips, but not for the next 10 minutes. So I'm taller, I'm slender. I do feel, because they're showing me now themselves more, when they were in their prime, when they were before stroke conditions impacted their physicality. I feel very tall, upright, strong, and bold. And I've got this cheeky grin forming on me. And I know that this gentleman would have had a cheeky grin. Right, cheeky, what's it, I tell you. But he's absolutely pleased as punch to be able to come through tonight. I would say that he passed in his late 60s. I might be a bit off on age. I've never really been any good at telling people's ages, which is probably why I gave up retail and my alcohol license. You don't want to be bad at guessing people's ages and alcohol license, trust me, to leave. But I would say he appears to look about late 60s. And I still feel this tallness with him. And it's not just about his physical height, it's his personality. And I just feel like my eyes are popping out and stuff, so I know he was very observant. I know he was a starer and a glarer. And why do I feel like I'm staring at you and glaring at you, my dear? Would you understand this information, gentlemen? Okay, but I'm over this side. Thank you. I'm over with you, am I? Bless you, thank you. Yes. Can I just say, this gentleman's a nosy bleeder. And I say that in the kindest possible sense. He is so nosy, and that's with the eyes popping out on stalks. Would you also be aware that this gentleman was a bit of a flirt? Now I know why I was looking at it. There you go. My job is to bring out their personality. Sometimes that's to my detriment. The only time I've ever flirted with a lady was when I'm working for Spirit. Trust me. Now, here's the thing. This gentleman is really inquisitive and nosy. And he knows everything as well. At least he thinks he does. Because as he's looking round, he has... I don't know whether to trust him, actually, because he has now got a full catalogue of everything in this church. He's making a list and checking it twice. He knows how many pictures are on that table. He knows exactly what's on that table, who, where it came from, how much it's worth. Do you understand that? I'm about to be shaken down by the Lord of Spirit. Isn't that great? But as I said that, he's, yeah, but I know where you can get placements nice and cheap. And so he's just having a laugh with you because he didn't care who you were. He would have a laugh with you and a joke with you and wind you up. And he's really enjoying himself right now. Because he keeps reminding me that I've got to tell. Watch for the flirting. He keeps reminding me that I've got to tell everyone that there's something new on the platform. And that was donated because it was made by the lovely Dawn. Cross stitch made hand in hand. That'll fetch a few. But there's an important memory link around one of you, and in connection with this gentleman. I don't think it was him. You don't seem the type, although I might be wrong. About cross stitch. Something to do with someone who would sit and sew things up in fine detail. You'd understand that. Good. Right. Because he's just talking, he says, there you go. But he was very, very clever at making sure that he could get his opinion across. Nice to see that tradition's carrying on. Bless him. There's also a memory link somewhere about shoes. Okay, I'm going to leave that. But I just need, because he keeps asking if mine have got rubber soles on, so I don't know what that's about. You obviously do. I'm going to say that. Okay. But he just kept going, oh, these rubber soles. Because we were having a laugh and joke about my shoes earlier because they keep picking up stones, but he was on about the rubber soles, so I'll give you that. But he's just wanting to let you know he's here. You do know that because you're aware of it. Especially you. And this is where he starts changing the personality a little bit and he gets a little bit serious. You know, and you do, that he's about. Stop being negative about yourself and have a little bit more faith in your ability. whatever it is. Because you need to pick yourself up. Because you could carry the world on your shoulders if you wanted to. The only person who doesn't believe that is you. And I have to follow it with the phrase, my girl. So, shoulders back, head up, and march forward. I'm not going to share his advice about anyone who gets in your way, because I'm not allowed to recommend things to do with elbows and knees. But there you go. I didn't. I just relayed the information by saying I don't do that. But he's really, really confident in you, in particular, of your abilities. And you should stop sitting on the sidelines and start being the coach. All right? So, shoulders back, chin up, best foot forward. We'll fight the good fight. And as for you, all he does is this. Well done. Thank you for listening. Whilst those two have finished with, he particularly wants to come to the end. You thought you'd been forgotten. He says, I'm done with them two now. But I do hope you've been listening to everything that I've just said. Because you sit there nodding your head about her when you're just as bad. I wonder where you get the divert it onto other people from. You really, right. There's two ways he could go about this. He could be the ha 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 ha, or he could be the. The truth is, he's been watching. He's proved that already by the faces that you lot have been pulling at the things he's had to say. But he's been watching a lot longer than he's let on today, of course. And you would know that. And he knows why you feel like you do. He knows the reasons that have directed, there goes the theme again. He knows the reasons why you, to put it in a polite term, are a negative Nelly sometimes. However, he knows that inside of you, there's an awful lot, not only of his influence, but somebody else's too. And that he wouldn't have it any other way. You have had more than your fair share of that which we were talking about in the philosophy. He says, guess what? So did I. And do you know how I dealt with it? I am not doing that. I believe that if everyone was standing behind him, it would be Winston Churchill waving victory. And that's the only way I can describe it without getting myself kicked off the platforms. Oh, wait, I'm my own chair tonight. Stick 'em. He wants you to remember that there is power in three. And that the triangle is the strongest shape in the world. And that way, when you think of a triangle, he says, people will always get your point. Because if they don't get your point, they'll get two others. And depending on which angle they're blown at, they might do. But he looks with great pride at all three of you and knows that in spite of everything and anything, there's nothing that the three of you can't handle. So be brave, be bold, be brilliant, and I'll say God bless all three. Yeah. Right, let's see. Who else is there? That's three of them. Okay. As I link into my next, oh God, and that is an oh my God. Well, I know this person's still alive and would probably not be wanting to come through to me anyway. So I'm seeing this as a kind of personality trait. I've got to tell you, I've just seen Tom Baker's Doctor Who. So there is this, I'm not coming to you, am I? Oh, that's all right. I'm going to say, because this person mixed with you would be trouble, because this guy is bold. He is amazing. He is got full of energy, and he's mucking about wearing this. He's got a funny hat on. He's got a scarf on. He does have the appearance of Tom Baker, Doctor Who. But I think that's more for costume and dramatic effect to let me know what his personality is like, because he don't mind when people like that's the first thing. But this guy is larger than life. He is very theatrical. He is very bold. He is very brusque. He's very, very blunt and brutal, which is why I thought he'd be a friend of yours. But this is the kind of interacting that this is the kind of thing he would do. And I do feel very drawn to you.
Nothing else to take. I think I can take.
Because it's the voice that I can't even do a Tom Baker voice. I'm too camp. And he's too much of a baritone for me. But, that very deep, I could probably do the Little Britain voice, but certainly not the theatrical one. But I'm going to come to you. There's the hip movement. He's sassy. He's great to work with. He's so much fun. And in spite of his, he feels absolutely massively tall. But he's very, very spry. And I think he's a little bit more spry than me because I don't want to do what I'm about to do. But if he was here right now, he wouldn't walk over there. And of course, I'm coming over here, and I keep coming back to you. Would you understand someone who would have known this way of life, would have worked in this way of life, who would have pranced about the platform like this, and would have been sassy with you? He was an actor, thank you. Would you understand why he feels like Tom Baker to me? That whole dramatic flair, the voice. I think the voice is the important part of why he was showing me that imagery. He had a very, very, oh, God, I'm turning good. He had a very distinctive voice, very deep, very powerful, booming voice. He could command the room with his voice. And because of our connections, because I actually did a little bit of theatrical training, it's just reminded me, he also knew a lot about where to put levels. But you would understand that he could only get away with being sassy with you because you gave as good as you got. Everything. And that's one of the reasons why he liked you. Because you gave as good as you got rather than running away crying and thinking he was a bad person. You saw the truth of him. And you didn't need to be a medium to know the truth of him. because it was always written all over his face. Oh God, there we go. As good an actor as I was, I could never pull the wool over his eyes. And thank you. I understand that. Right. One of the reasons he's come through tonight is to just remind you where the lemons go. You do know what I'm talking about. Yeah, good. Thank God for that. Because I didn't want to be explaining that one from the platform. To remind you where the lemons go, but also because the reason he wanted to use that appearance is because of a sentence that is echoing around in my mind, so I know it's him, because it's on permanent loop. And this is the kind of gentleman who would never give up saying his piece until he fully believed it had been heard, understood, and accepted. And he's saying, you know that I would only ever suggest things that were for your benefit. I would never come here to say things that would make me happy and not see you happy. And there is a particular phrase that's echoing in that voice right now. He's not telling me what it's about, but he's telling me that it's an answer to a situation around you at the moment. You've been questioning, thinking, deciding, plotting, planning. And he's saying the answer is, I really rather think that I might. So I feel what he's telling you is get on with it. Okay. There is only room in front of the mirror for procrastination here for one. And that, darling, is me. So get on. I've got to say, the absolute humour and compassion and love and even the joy to be prancing around in front of people again is so uplifting. He was filled with such nervous energy. And I know you said he was an actor, but I would never have guessed it from the way he feels. Because as much as he's happy to prance around, as soon as he looks and notices that there are people looking at him, there's this sudden fear wash over. And he was good at covering it up, except to you. And people of your... Oh, okay. I think this is an apology for what he said to you earlier. People of your quality and standard. And by that, he means the way you are with people. So he wanted to thank you for knowing him better than himself sometimes. He wants to thank you for always being you. Now get off your backside and enjoy yourself. Because I really rather think if I were here, I might too. And I will say, God bless you. He's so fun. Voice. I don't think I'm going to lose that voice for a good couple of hours now. It's hanging around. Right, let's see who else. Okay. As I make it, it's James tonight. I've got another one coming through. I have got a right dodgy hip going on right here. I am struggling. I'm leaning to one side, and my gosh, Now, I don't know whether it's hit bone, hit muscle, sciatic, or something like that. All I know is that it's rotting. And I do know that it would have affected the gentleman's walking either for a time or permanently, because I do feel like I'm kind of getting used to having a slightly dodgy gait. Cool, that's a posh word for me. I've got a dodgy gait. And I haven't been one on Indeed with posts either. So I know that this gentleman would have had this walk, but it's almost like I was the kind of person who just got on with it. I wouldn't have had a stick until the very last minute. I didn't need it. If I can prop up my own weight, I can keep walking. I might walk a bit funny, but never mind. So this was a very stubborn gentleman, a gentleman who is telling me off for calling him a gentleman, by the way, just, throw that one in as well. He doesn't like being called a gentleman. But a very stubborn who is extremely determined, convinced, steadfast. Thank you. I'm being reminded of a wedding ring with this gentleman, so I know that would be important around it. And I reckon, because it's now turned toothache, so I feel like this would have been a long-running thing. There was also problems with his feet, because my feet are starting to tingle, and I know that towards the end of this gentleman's life, he would have been a little bit distracted. He would have not necessarily noticed people in the room. Occasionally, his conversation would drift off, and even, I would say, potentially to the extent that he would be in the middle of a conversation or in the middle of a sentence and just stop talking and drift off. And it was almost like that whole conversation hadn't happened. Is the way I feel right now, even though I'm fully aware and know that there are people in this hall, I actually feel quite on my own at the moment because I'm not even acknowledging that there's anyone here. So it's almost like that would have been a scenario, perhaps around his past, that he was aware of a lot of people in the room, even though his body was unable to compute who and what by physical needs. Can anyone understand this? Thank you. You would understand that this is a really important part of who he was. Thank you. Would you also understand he was a bit hard of hearing? Thank you. Because I can usually hear a pin drop in this, or the acoustics are great, but I'm struggling to hear. Thank you. Thank you. Wonderful. I'm back, Evelyn. Oh, and there's somebody else joined as well. So thank you for your patience at home. And we are back out now. I can see everyone else. Let's get rid of it. Boom. Boom. So, brain specs. It's a bit of a Doctor Who theme tonight with the brain specs. I know, and I'm noticing already by the way everything I do between message, by the way, is connected to the person. You'll notice that your gentleman's a very patient man and would take advantage of the fact of the privacy to actually say more than he probably would have done if that was still running. And he didn't care that it was off, and he let me not care. Sorry, everyone at home, but it was important to do the message, not the internet. And I would have been frustrated, but he soothed that frustration. This gentleman would not let it lie. This gentleman, everything's got to be right, everything's got to be perfect, everything's got to be connected. And turned on. I think I'm connected to that now. Just let me know that you can hear me. Cheers, guys. It's all about, you know, we're going back to the old way next week, don't you? Everything's got to be working. Everything's got to be right. I can't ignore it. So I know this gentleman would have been very, very frustrated by things not working, by things not playing ball. And he couldn't just walk away from it. It's got, right, okay, I've got to come over here, I've got to fit. And this is how he was. Oh, thank you. He was always there, always wanting to fix things and get things working. And you would be in the middle of tea and the salt shaker would probably stop working. So he would stop eating tea and go off and fix the salt shaker and then come back. The car, you know, if there was a problem with the car, rather than calling AAA and waiting patiently, no, I'm going to do a whole engine retune on the side of the road and hope for the best. So someone who was very, very keen to get their hands dirty and wouldn't be able to move away from something not working right. I do feel very fatherly with this gentleman. It's gentleman's night, it really, really is, isn't it? It's all boys together, and then me. And once again, that's his joke, not mine. So once again, a bit of a sass pot. Can anyone understand a father figure that would be like that? He did like to fix things. I'm going to say, I never said that he couldn't fix things. It's just that he would do it in the most probably awkward time for everyone else. Yeah. Yeah, it's not something he could leave.
No, I don't think so. If you think about it, then go on.
Right, but he wouldn't be able to, you know, walk away. What I'm getting at is that he couldn't leave anything half finished. It had to be done and done properly.
Yes.
Ah, there you go. And once again, now we know where you get it from. And this is exactly the way I've got to be with you, right?
Yes,
Because sleeves up, you know, dive in. I do feel a very joyous gentleman.
well, he was. Yeah.
But,
They were serious.
yeah, don't speak to me, give me a right of blooming hand. Because I have to say, there is, it's like he was a clown in one moment, but with a cloud hanging over him in another, and then standing on his soapbox and being completely straight-faced. It's almost like there was three sides to him. He could be fun and uplifting. He did carry some burdens with him, but then there was that seriousness that you mentioned. But they were all tools. Because you deal with people in a way that they need and can understand. And as I feel like I'm lecturing you, but when I said that, it's like, You deal with people as they need so they can understand. This is the tone in which he would have educated people. And I do use the term educate. Whether or not he was, busman, a pit miner or whatever, he was an educator. Whatever it was he did with passion and strength and shared it. He passed on knowledge and wisdom. And he was very passionate. And of course it was his way. We know where you get that from. But he's wanting to let you know that he's happy about that. He's not entirely. It's just the way he's saying it. I know he's taking a bit. Because he's just standing there saying, still not entirely convinced on all this life after death thing. Even though he's talking, it's his sense of humour. It's his way of letting you know that probably wouldn't have seen him alive in here. Not surprised by you, though. You always were, what? Okay. Oh, this is fun. You know what I said about learning things about people you didn't know? You always were this little dreamer, wistful with your head up in the clouds thinking of wondrous things. There's no probably about it, Dad said so.
Yeah.
I think this is what he would say to you. There is no probably about it. You're who you are because of it. Don't hide. And this is his main underlying message to you. You are who you are because of all of your experiences. Do not hide from them. No matter how painful.
Yeah.
You're usually pretty good at that, but you've let your guard up a little too much. And even you've noticed that. Okay. Okay. He's reminding me that it's raining outside. I haven't noticed it since the beginning of the service. He says, and I know that he started to lose his voice towards the end of his life, and he would have become a little rougher. Interestingly enough, even with that change in his voice, he was still able to make himself heard. Yeah. And as he's done that, he's saying, you see, there is no loss of strength in our weaknesses. We are able to find our strength no matter what. And he's using the royal we. And he's reminding me of the rain, and he's saying, yes, he's reminding me of a very important phrase that I love. And I usually do it another way round. The phrase is, and everyone should remember this one because it's important. We are all the sum of our tears. Too many, the best of us, to wash away. Too few, the ground is infertile and nothing can grow. Too few. And I feel this is what he would have done if he was looking at you and thought for a second he needed to underpin something. He wouldn't shout it, he'd whisper it.
Yeah.
In a slightly sotto stagey kind of. So obviously, in your own time, of course, and in your own way. Good luck, Eddie. He was a bit sassy as well. Good luck any other way with that one. But he wants you to know that he's happy that you are doing what you're doing. in spite of his own personal feelings, because of course he understands. Please tell them others that I was here tonight. Whatever, whoever, I have no clue. But them others. And there was a bit of humour. And as he starts to step back now, that's your mum. Because he keeps wanting to see what's in it. And when he goes over and looks in it and sniffs it, he's quite disappointed. So I would say God bless. And thank you for listening. And I hope you enjoyed it. Friends, we are now at a time where I would normally be gesticulating wildly at our medium. So I'll just gesticulate at myself. And say thank you all for listening. I hope you have enjoyed that demonstration of mediumship. And God bless you all and thank you for listening. And so to close the service, I've asked Barbara to give us a closing prayer so I can sit my bum down for 5 minutes, because I'm used to sitting down for most of the service, to be honest. So to close our evening in prayer, I will now hand over to Reverend Barbara. Thank you, Reverend Barbara.
Once again, I'd like to say thank you for a wonderful demonstration of mediumship. Let's just join these two worlds together. We say, dear Father God, Mother, we ask at this time to come close around each and every one and continue to send that healing for all those that need it here on Mother. And also to send it out into the universe, not just to the humans, but to the animals of our world. Also, we'd like to say thank you for the loved ones that's come forward this evening, and also to put the white light around each and every one here this evening, and to send the white light around to those that we know. So we say thank you for this evening. Thank you, Great Spirit, for the love and the guidance. And we close this evening with our love. We say amen.
Thank you, Barbara, and thank you all for a wonderful, wonderful start to the year. Thank you to Tony for leading the healing, thank you to Eunice for reading, and thank you to Barbara for the prayer. Thank you to, seriously, I know I mentioned it as part of the message, but seriously, handmade in cross stitch. This is, and I am just going to say this has been on the journey as long as Dawny has, because she started making it pretty much soon after she joined this church. And she has been making it ever since. I'm going to show everybody at home. That is all cross stitch. That has been individually stitched. Even the white is stitched as well. You haven't left it blank. It's literally a stitch everywhere. And that's commitment and that's dedication, I tell you. And that is going on the page. Although I think I won't be leaving that one here every week until Thursday. That's coming up with me, and I'll bring it back every week because it can go on the memory shelf behind me when I'm doing online. But thank you, Dawn. That is absolutely stunning. And thank you all for sending your thoughts, for coming along and supporting. The most important part is coming up, of course. The kitchen will be open. We've got jammy creams and party rings because it is January the 1st. And of course, we've got our raffle. Please don't forget that our medium next week is Daniel Wright. We'll be back same time, same place next week. Until then, we will now have our raffle. Say good night to everyone else. And say, may the peace of the Great Spirit go with you all. And good night. And sorry about the blackout earlier, lovelies. I'll see you all soon. God bless. Got to think of a